What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to this episode of Home Built Workshop. Today we are going to repurpose this failed guitar body. Instead of throwing this away, I'm going to turn it into these really cool wooden coasters. Check it out. I'm going to begin this project with a mahogany and alder guitar body that I had really bad tear out when I was routing this with a template bit, ruined the plans that I had for this body, and I got so frustrated that I cut it in half on the bandsaw right there at that exact moment. Now, I don't want to waste this wood, so we're going to repurpose it for this project. First thing I need to do is square up this edge.
Now I'll just set up the table saw to cut some perfectly square strips. The first cut was perfect, but the second time around I could feel the saw binding. I'm not really sure why this happened, but I really wanted to avoid the kickback, so I figured I better stop right there. Trust your gut, don't get hurt.
Not sure what's going on. Something happened. I feel like it wanted to kick me. It wanted to kick me back. I didn't need that.
I didn't do anything different to finish this cut. I just pulled the piece out, started it again, and it went just fine with no binding. That was weird.
Now I've got a couple of strips cut down. I'm going to glue these up. I didn't cut down the other half just yet. I want to keep that aside and intact just in case there's some sort of issue, this doesn't go as planned, I make a mistake, something like that. Not that we ever make mistakes, right? Come on, who are we kidding? I make mistakes all the time. I'm just going to keep that one aside. I'm not going to use that just yet. As long as this goes as planned, I'll probably do the exact same thing to that and make a whole nother batch of these things.
And now is where we break out the wood glue and lots of clamps.
That ought to hold it.
With the piece out of the clamps, now I can square up both ends, and then I'm going to cut this piece in half. And now if I flip over one side of the piece, you can see how the pattern is going to be formed.
But with that out of the clamps, you can start to see the pattern. That is going to be really cool. I'm liking this thing so far. Now what I want to do is wrap the outside of this with a different kind of wood, and that is going to provide a little bit of color, but also I need to make this a little bit wider. Right now this is less than 3.5 inches across. I need to bring it up closer to around 4 inches. So now I got to cut the wood. It's going to wrap this out. Is that not the coolest end grain? That has got to be my favorite.
After resawing these pieces, a couple of passes to the drum sander will make sure that they're all at the same thickness. And now I'll begin gluing on the Purple Heart panels. I'm going to glue them on one at a time and clamp them just long enough until the glue holds, then I'll move on and clamp the second one. Again, clamping it just long enough for the glue to hold.
So the main reason I'm gluing these on one at a time is just to help eliminate the pieces sliding in the wet glue. If I try to clamp all 4 at once, then I have to worry about 4 pieces at the exact same time, slipping and fitting together nicely. I don't want to use something like a pin nail to hold them in place, although that would work awesome. When I resaw these, I don't want to take a chance of hitting a nail, so I'm just going to do these one at a time. Takes a little bit longer, but I think it's going to be worth it. All right, that is the last side. All 4 sides are now glued on. Just gonna let this dry for a little while, make sure everything is secure, and then we'll move on.
Before I start resawing, I want to make sure everything is sanded nice and flush. And now it's time to break out this crosscut jig that I made a while back for my bandsaw. It holds everything nice and square to the blade and rides in the slot on the table.
Whew. It's all the way up and it just fits. I got lucky.
My first cut on the bandsaw is going to be just to remove the waste and get the piece squared up. Ooh, that's gonna be cool. Now I'll clamp a stop block in place. This will keep all the cuts the same size. Now I have to sand all these.
This is taking a little while. It's not hard, but there's a lot of edges to break. It's all right. Get it. You guys know I love hand sanding. Come on, though, that looks really awesome. I can't wait to get these done. Shake well before using. Now that the finish is dry, the last thing I want to do is apply cork. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I really want this cork on there, so I'm going to only do a few of these just kind of as test pieces. These will be the ones that I'm going to keep in our home, and that way I can test them out and see if I want to do the cork on the rest of them. I've made a really simple cardboard template that I will use to cut the cork. This is just under the finished size of the coasters. That way the cork will be tucked under just a little bit. This was nothing fancy at all. I just traced out the size and then scribed an undersized line, cut it out with an X-Acto knife. Boom, done.
Making a cardboard template is not really necessary. I thought it might be easier to use when tracing out the size, but there's absolutely no reason I couldn't have just measured it out and cut it the same way. This was just something I wanted to try out.
And there you have it. Coasters are complete.
I could not be happier with the way these turned out. I love the color of that Purple Heart. It has such a cool contrast with the other woods. Man, I really dig these.
Now these 3, since I have an odd number, I'm going to keep these. That's why I only put the cork on a couple of them. I want to test it out and see if I really like it with the cork or without. Let me know down in the comments whether or not you would put cork on your coasters. This is my first time making coasters, and actually it was really fun. It's kind of neat to challenge yourself with a few different scraps of wood to come up with some sort of a pattern and see how they turn out. They're really easy to make, and you can batch them out pretty quick. Let me know what you think of this project in the video comments. If you enjoyed it, give it a big old thumbs up. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. The last piece. Man, it's like Christmas.